You know, it's kind of inevitable that when you read a bunch of books, you're going to discover new favorite authors. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizard of Reads, and as always guys, I'm Andrew, and today I am coming back with an oldie but a goodie. You know, I did a 2021 edition of my favorite authors to kind of like get people to know what my tastes are and things of that nature, and like which authors I identify with the most. I will go ahead and link that up on the cards. It's old, don't judge. The quality's not exactly the best. But, I mean, it's been a year, it's been around 160 books later, and yeah, I've got another 10 authors with a few honorable mentions that I want to talk about because I pretty much love everything that I've read from these authors. So, without really any mucking about, let's just jump right on into it. Starting off with, so far, like, last year I kind of discovered David Gemmell, and this is heroic fantasy, and David Gemmell just writes in such a way where, like, each book he has written that I have read within the Drenai Saga, I've read 4 of them so far, and every single one has gotten better and better and better. And I just love what David Gemmell is doing. I am currently planning on reading his Troy books, on reading his Regante stuff. Like, I am going to read the breadth of David Gemmell across the rest of my reading life. And I just cannot wait to get more Gemmell. So I highly identify with this. This is kind of a progenitor to the dark fantasy / grimdark genre. So yes, this slots in very nicely. I love me some David Gemmell. Alright, I should have mentioned this in the last video, and I went back and I didn't. I love me some Mark Lawrence. Mark Lawrence has written, seriously, some of the best books that I have read. Now, they're not always my favorite books, but they are always really good. The Book of the Ancestor is fantastic. Prince of Thorns, while not for everybody, well, I guess it's Broken Empire. While not for everybody, is still amazing. I've now got his Red Queen's War, which I'm getting ready to read here very, very soon. And I think he's wrapping up, I think it's the Girl on the Stars trilogy, which is set in the world of Book of the Ancestor. And I'm super excited to get into that as well. So yes, Mark Lawrence also makes the list just because he's very dynamic. And I mean, there's a fair few books to get through. I know there's like 15 books that he's written. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to from Mark Lawrence. Also, like, King of Thorns is probably one of my favorite books. Just consistently. I love that book. Alright, this is a new one. I've read 4 books by this author, and I've got another 3 that just arrived. That's going to be Raymond E Feist. This is traditional fantasy. This is from like the late 70s, early 80s. He's still writing. He's still putting out books. He's no longer writing in the Rift War cycle, which I think after like 32 books, he like Terry Brooks, he's just moved on to something new. Planning on picking up those as well. I think that I know I loved Magician enough that I'm just going to read all of it pretty much. Like, I've got plenty of time to make my way through the breadth of his work. And I mean, so far, like, Magician was awesome. The Empire books, I'm looking right at them right now over the camera, and them's are some beefy books. I was planning on reading them this month, or at least starting it, and like it's bigger than Magician, and Magician's in like the 800s. So I'm a bit nervous, guys, but I've heard it's amazing and it's very, very intricate. This is just fun fantasy to fantasy portal. A portal story that is just so good. It's got an interesting structure. I've done a dedicated series review, which I will again link up on the cards for this because I stand by this. This is really, really good. One of the standouts that I discovered last year was Will White. I can't believe how much I love the Cradle series, and I've already got his Traveler's Gate stuff. I've heard he's got another series, like it's like Smoke and Ship or something. It's a maritime fantasy with like dual perspectives, with each book like flips POVs, but it's the same story told from a different point of view. Anyway, I love Will White. His humor is on point. His progression, it's progression fantasy. Progression is astounding. And like, I mean, if you haven't read this, the narration from Will White's books by Travis Baldree, who just released his own book, so I'm gonna read that, and hopefully he makes the list next year, is absolutely phenomenal. I honestly, I did batch reviews for, like, entries in Cradle last year, and if you like Will White, we can be friends. So, yeah. Moving right along. This one blew me away. Like, if you're not reading this author, you're doing yourself a disservice. And that is Christopher Rocchio, author of the Sun Eater Saga. This is going to be 5 books, 5 or 6 books, because I think the third or the fourth book got split in 2. I'm not entirely sure on that. But the third book is actually just came out March 22nd. Or is coming out March 22nd. I don't know when I'm posting this video. But, I mean, Empire of Silence, this was like a 4.5 out of 5 for me. And then both Howling Dark and Demon in White were 5-star flawless books, in my opinion. What Christopher Rocchio has accomplished is nothing short of astounding. His prose is amazing. The pacing of his story is frenetic. The just originality is just boggling. Like, it is epic, space opera, what have you. It is probably, honestly, some of the best books that I have read in my life. And I was kind of iffy. I thought the series was overhyped when I read Empire of Silence, and then I got to Howling Dark, and I understood. So yes, Christopher Rocchio. Moving right along, we have got Anthony Ryan. And guys, this is the Raven's Shadow trilogy. Specifically Bloodsong. I enjoy the Raven's Shadow trilogy. A lot of people are kind of iffy on it. A lot of people love Bloodsong, but don't really relate to Tower Lord and Queen of Fire. I actually fairly enjoyed those. Tower Lord, maybe not as much, but I love Bloodsong enough that I've got... Oh god, I went and bought, like, Subterranean Press editions of his, like, novella series. I went and got The Pariah. I went and got Draconis Memoria. I am looking forward to more Anthony Ryan just because he is such a technical writer. His technical writing is just next level. It is polished. It is just, all the periods are right where they need to be. Like, the punctuation's flawless. Like, it feels beyond polished. Like, it's just got a sheen on it. I don't know. I love the way Anthony Ryan writes. Alright. Now, I've only read 2 books by this author, but that's because he's only put out 2 books. And that's going to be Zack Argyle, author of the Threadlight series. This book was... I remember I first started reading this. I was in a car dealership buying a new car, and I was bored. So I started reading Voice of War. I was half done by the time, like, my car was ready. And, yeah, I've never looked back. The 3rd book, Bonds of Chaos, is getting ready to come out. And once that's out, like, if he sticks that landing, I will be a lifelong follower of Zack Argyle. Like, I've got nothing but good things to say about this author. He's great to talk with on Twitter. The narrator for this book, Adam Gold, is just, like, chocolate dipped in gold. Like, that man has got a voice. So, yes, if you have not checked out Zack Argyle, you are doing yourself a disservice. Alright, and then this one is Adrian Tchaikovsky, author of Guns of the Dawn, Shadows of the Apt, The Children of Time, Echoes something, I don't know, just tons of books. This man is prolific AF. And honestly, like, Guns of the Dawn is probably my favorite standalone that I've ever read, just shy of, I think, Stephen King. And guys, like, I've got nothing but good things to say about Adrian Tchaikovsky. While his books may not always land with me, his breadth of work is just so dynamic. Like, he's fantasy, sci-fi, urban fantasy, flintlock fantasy. Just, it's all there. Military fantasy. Like, there's something there for you in Adrian Tchaikovsky's writing. So, yes, he definitely makes the list as one of the best and most dynamic authors that I read last year. Or within the last year, I should say. And then, of course, my good friend, Daniel Barnett, had to make the list. This is the man that made me fall back in love with the horror genre. I would, like, when I first started reading this, I had zero expectations. I was like, I'm a big old chicken. I hide behind the couch during horror movies. Like, I can't look. And this just made me fall back in love with that genre. And for that reason, like, Daniel is, I owe him a debt of gratitude. I've read so many great horror books just off of reading Daniel Barnett, because, like, I was like, oh, I do like horror. I'm going to go ahead and start exploring that genre. Daniel Barnett, Nightmareland Chronicles, makes the list. All right, I've got 2 more here. And yes, these have bookmarks in them because I'm currently reading books by these authors. I liked this author as a kid and kind of fell out of love with him, but now I'm back in love with him. And that is going to be Stephen King, author of so many legendary books: The Stand, Salem's Lot, It, 11/22/63. I'm currently wrapping this one up today. I love Stephen King's works, and I'm officially calling myself a constant reader again. Like, it's good to finally be back in the multiverse and really enjoying King's writing. Like, it is just hammer blow after hammer blow. Does the man bat 1,000? No, nobody does. But he's got more hits than he's got misses, and this is honestly, Stephen King's probably one of the greatest writers of our era. So, yeah. And then, closing out the list, and then we're going to talk some honorable mentions, is going to be Kevin Hearn, author of Iron Druid, Kill the Farm Boy, and this one is The Seven Kennings. I just started this one. I started reading Kevin Hearn years ago for Iron Druid, and then I read the first 8 Iron Druid books, and then I heard that the 10th book had dropped wrapping up the series and that it didn't stick the landing, and so I kind of got scared and ran away. And I picked up The Seven Kennings, and I just all of a sudden remembered, I love the way this man writes books. Like, Kevin Hearn is a damn good storyteller. He injects just enough humor to really pull you along, even during those dark moments. Like, he can always get in, like, a little bit of a quib that just kind of, I don't know, pushes me through a difficult scene. And for that reason, I love Kevin Hearn's writing. All right, I mentioned honorable mentions, so let's do those honorable mentions. I've got 3, and specifically because I love one of these authors, but also he's part of a series that I think is way overhyped. So honorable mentions are The Iron Crown, which is written by L.L. McCree. Now, she writes under 2 different pen names, L.L. McCree, and I don't remember the other one, but you can bet that I'm going to be reading more from this author. This fantasy book made me so incredibly happy. I think that L.L. McCree has the potential to become one of my favorite authors. And that's just off of reading 1 book from her. That's it, 1 book. And that is a special kind of feeling. So if that continues, you can bet that you will hear me talk more and more about this author as I discover her books. Also, Chris Wooding, author of The Darkwater Legacy, The Ember Blade. I've got the KDJ books already purchased based off of loving this book alone. Second book is done, and we are getting it in 2023. In this, I am looking forward to it, but also I've only read the single novel, and it was a while ago, and I've had KDJ for a while. I just haven't been able to fit it into the TBR. But yes, honorable mention, Chris Wooding. And then, of course, I have to mention Daniel Abraham. Daniel Abraham is a fantastic author, and frankly, Long Price Quartet, if that had all I've been read, he'd have made this list. I've also read the Expanse books. I think the Expanse books are incredibly entertaining, and also very overhyped, mainly because there is just dialogue issues, there are logical loopholes, there's just stereotypical villains and antagonists, and characters just making really poor decisions within that series. I've read 4 of those books, and for that reason, like, he gets an honorable mention. I've heard The Expanse gets better towards the end of the series, so maybe next year he gets bumped from an honorable mention to a top 10er. So that said, guys, that is everything that I have got here for you. This is my updated new top, or they're not my top 10. These are my new favorite authors that I read in 2021 and a little bit of 2022 for the first 3 months. So that's it, guys. That's all I've got for you. So till next time, peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.